Stock has explained how exactly the Ukrainian military has been abusing the notorious tactic of human shields.
For example, we took up position in some part of the house. The enemy sends the tank out of neighboring residential buildings and fires directly at us. Teams in two that know the area can calmly control 2 blocks, knowing the streets, knowing the ways through. At the same time, they have shelters. They use both kindergarten schools. To deal with this, we have to take some measures. And even if we use precision destruction, that people have left the upper floors or in basements, the buildings are empty, no one lives in them. Before we work with a building, we fly drones right to the windows and take a precise look, to make sure that there are definitely no people there.
Meanwhile, we spoke to a man who says mortar fire directly hit and killed his wife as she walked to get humanitarian aid in the southern city of Mariupol. She was reportedly torn to pieces by the strike, and he and his son would. With residents close to starvation, the family had been walking deliveries of flour.
Сказали соседи, проходили мимо, что в школе еще дают. Погода была хорошая, решили воздухом подышать, как раз было пройтись, получить 2 ковшика муки. Когда подходили, прямо на входе, на центральном, прямо в нас прилетел снаряд. Мы шли втроем. Жена, ребенок посередине, я слева. Снаряд с правой стороны прилетел, получается, что прямо в нее. А с ребенком, когда я кинулся к ним, ребенок кричит. Я его схватил и увидел, что ей уже не помочь. Продолжился обстрел прямо в это же место. Начали еще прилетать снаряды. Мы с ним скатились. Я его схватил, мы скатились за ступеньки, спрятали. Прилетели еще несколько снарядов. Потом схватил, перебежали чуть дальше. Опять снаряды стали прилетать. В общем, школу обстреливали очень сильно. Потом за деревьями чуть дальше отбежали, спрятались. Вроде чуть прекратилось, я его схватил, оббежал школу вокруг, я знал, где убежище. В убежище забежал, стал вопить, что там моя жена, хотя я понимал, что, скорее всего, ей уже не помочь, но тем не менее. Но они даже выйти не смогли, потому что обстрел продолжался.
The Russian military has reported an ongoing humanitarian catastrophe in Ukraine as Kiev-supported nationalist forces plant landmines in civilian areas and destroy local infrastructure.
Unfortunately, the humanitarian situation in Ukraine continues to deteriorate rapidly, and in some cities it has reached catastrophic proportions. Armed nationalist groups are planting mines in residential areas, destroying bridges and roads, and destroying critical infrastructure. As a result of these criminal and treacherous actions by the Ukrainian authorities, primarily affecting their own people, the civilian population has been forced to endure inhumane conditions, without heat, electricity, fresh water, food and medicine. People are on the verge of despair, and Kiev, knowing the true situation on the ground, continues cynically, through the Ukrainian media, to claim that these are allegedly the results of actions by the Russian armed forces, while all these atrocities, the mines, explosions, the firing on residential neighborhoods, hospitals, schools, kindergartens, occur in front of living witnesses who sooner or later will tell the world the entire truth of this tragedy.
Now, some of the areas reclaimed by Donbass and Russian forces have started to rebuild after heavy attacks from Ukraine. These are some of the latest pictures from a town in the Lugansk region, where streets are being cleared of rubble. Ukrainian flags are also being removed from administrative buildings in a symbolic gesture of a power shift. Residents of areas retaken by Lugansk forces are trying to return to a peaceful life after 8 years of simmering conflict with the Ukrainian military. RT's Maria Fanoshina reports from the scene.
For this town north of Lugansk, it seems the worst could finally be over.
It means happiness in English.
Just a week ago, we were here, filming colossal destruction. A front line, it became the scene of fierce fighting after days of constant shelling. Now, several teams are working hard to remove the debris. Electricity, water and gas are back. People are slowly returning home.
The town of Shasty has been under the control of Kiev's forces for 8 years. But now the front line moved further away and life here is getting back to normal. And finally, there is time for things like this.
The yellow and blue Ukrainian flag seems to be a symbol of everything that they are fighting against here. The Lugansk Republic authorities do not yet hang their official symbols instead, but they seem to be impatient to get rid of anything that could remind them of the last 8 years. With flags down, Ukraine's official colors are still everywhere. Removing memories of the past is important, but building bridges to the future is even more so.
Just days ago, Russia's defense ministry reported that Ukraine's armed forces, while retreating, blew up one section of this bridge outside the town of Shastia and also left lots of explosives to cut the enemy off. And now you can see it's reinforced, fixed and opened for military and for civilians as well.
As we film on the bridge, a large group of workers arrive.
Скажите, а что вы делаете?
Свет освещения моста. Здесь будут они лежат столбы и будут лампы стоять здесь осветительные.
The pace of reconstruction here is astonishing. Things seem to get fixed in next to no time, but broken hearts and lives will take much longer to reheal. Marivnoshna RT from the Lugansk Republic.
Petrol prices in the US have soared to record highs after Joe Biden announced the country would